it has helped me become very intentional, very intentional about the journey I want them to take, because when you're teaching in a studio, you don't know who you're going to get every day. But when there's a membership and it's a closed container, this is the first time I had a chance. We're going on a journey.
Yeah.
That was so exciting. This is different. This is something where, okay, we've got this bowl of people and we are going to explore Pema Chodron's work, and we're going to come different on the other side. We're going to explore Brene Brown's work and come out different. We're going to explore, gosh, who else have we done? Sally Kempton, all these different books. And there's a lot of Mark Nepo. Like on a day where I don't have a plan, Mark Nepo will get us there. But yeah, we've done the sutras and the kleshas. So it's important to me that my students don't just know how to do triangle, but they know why they're doing the triangle and what are we really rooted in. We're rooted in ancient technology. Well, the technology itself, the human body is ancient for sure, but the sutras, the yoga sutras, and we're working with the mind, and we're working with the breath, because it's the yoga off the mat that is the fruits. Welcome to Jess on the Mountain, a podcast about yoga, chakras, and becoming your own guru. I'm Jess Goulding, and I'm excited today to have Kathleen Woodhouse here with me. She is a long friend and yoga student, yoga partner on the journey. And we're here to talk about how to do an online practice, because it's challenging. Online yoga membership, which is the one that I offer, and Kathleen has been there since the beginning. And back to the mat, which is coming up really soon. So I want you to hear about all of these things so that you, whether you start practicing with us or whether you find another place, I want you to know that online yoga is so doable and it's so beneficial. So thank you, Kathleen, for coming to interview me about stuff and then tell us more from your experience. Because we're just going to have a conversation.
Great. And I'm so excited. I mean, back to the mat, back to school, back to the mat. It's a fall ritual for us at this point. So I'm really excited about back to the mat's right around the corner.
Yeah, you just put, it's a ritual. You're right. Now it's a tradition. We've been doing it 4 years.
Right.
So now it's something that we do. It's dependable.
Right.
We have a lot of things. We go through seasons in our practice, seasons in an OIM. And this is like, all right.
Yeah.
Dust off your mat.
Starts to get a little cooler outside, and it's time for back to the mat.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize it had been 4 years for this.
2020.
I'm curious. I mean, you've been teaching yoga for a long time.
20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How has your teaching evolved in that time?
My teaching always reflects whatever's going on in my life.
Yeah.
So when I first started, I taught dancers. Then when I had kids, then when I got pregnant, I taught prenatal. Then when they were born, I taught postnatal. And as I was in part of leadership at a church where I was attending, I taught body and soul yoga. So whatever I'm doing is going to come out in the practices. And then once I got into real studio yoga teaching all the time, then it was more of a journey of self-study.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a lineage that's highly alignment oriented. Anusara is very alignment oriented. And I loved that, and all the cueing and everything being specific and a way to do it. But then we evolved. And when I went through yoga therapy training, then I learned Vini yoga, which is just breath-based, much more smooth, a little less cue oriented.
Yeah.
So I would say it evolves as I evolve. And I love to pull in things as I gain new information, new experiences. So it's never static.
You know, the never static piece is part of what I think keeps students like myself coming back. So even though we've done back to the mat every year, even though there's a chakra series, it is different every time, and we're different every time, right? I mean, that's the yoga at work. But what I love about the work that you do is that you do bring all those different elements of body and soul and spirit and alignment and breath, and now dance is becoming a bigger part of our classes. I love as a student that continual evolution because I don't ever know what to expect when I go. And some days I'm wanting something really slow and that's not where we're going.
Not what we're doing.
But it's always something new and it's always so deeply fulfilling. And even online, there are so many times that I'll be doing a pose and you'll say, make sure to keep your weight in your back leg. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, and it's great. You can cue and I can respond in the moment, and I don't know how you know to do that.
Well, there is a consistency among human beings that when we're in Warrior One, we tend to lose weight in that back heel.
Yeah.
And I get to cue from myself. That's, when we go through training, we're not doing the yoga with the students. We're walking around, giving instruction and correction, which I think is great.
Yeah.
This was just different. Going online meant I'm not standing and watching and making corrections. So it got to be much more about the experience of the yoga. The corrections aren't specific. They are suggestions at this point.
Right.
And I'm sensing it in my body, projecting that I'm not alone in this. So it feels much more like a cohesive, we're building these postures together. We're building this flow together. And what's been fun is other people will say somehow we're all tuned in on Zoom and yet we're feeling this connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even those who do the recording, because I'll refer to Georgia, our lovely fiddle fig. So I'll, sometimes refer to different students in the classroom or the Zoom room. They'll have to come on and say, hey, Jess, we can't hear you. So they're aware that this is happening in real time. And I just think that energy comes through. I don't get it.
It absolutely does.
This episode is brought to you by online yoga membership and Back to the Mat, a celebration of practice and commitment with a week of free access to OYM's online library of over 400 yoga classes, 13 class series, live hatha practices on Zoom, and a wide variety of unique topics and intentions to suit any yoga desire you may have. You can try it out September 9 through 15, 2024 by registering at jessgoulding.com/backtothemat. Each day you'll receive an email with suggested classes from OYM based on a theme, plus a chance to sign up for OYM going forward for 30% off. Learn more at jessgoulding.com/OYM. Sign up for a free week of yoga with Back to the Mat at jessgoulding.com/backtothemat. OYM brings you closer to a happier and healthier you, one practice at a time.
One of the things that I love about an online practice, well, there are many, as you and I have talked about, but one of the things I love is if I can't be there Tuesday and Thursday at 9 for hatha, I can catch up Tuesday night or Wednesday and still stay connected with that community and keep that continuity and keep my practice without missing a beat, which is a huge benefit to me because I would say, I'd be curious your answer to this. I would say I make 90% of the classes.
I think so.
Yeah. But it's so nice to know that I can stay at 100, for those of us who are competitive. It's so nice that I can stay consistent with my practice, even if something comes up and I can't be there during class.
Yeah, you can go get it. You can go get it later.
Mm-hmm.
You're making me realize that's one of the benefits when we do a series, right? We do lots of series in class and it has a beginning, kind of a middle and an end, but that there are 50 other people thinking about this book, or this word or this quote. And maybe that's part of what feeds into the energy of the group is that we're all looking through this lens of this mudra or this chant, whatever we're working on at that time. So I hadn't thought about that. That's actually pretty cool.
Well, and what's great about the series concept as well, and having access through OYM to all the library of classes is on times where I feel like I want to augment our weekly practices and I need more yoga, following the Jess philosophy of if you don't have an hour for yoga, do two.
This quote has to come up again.
Yes. But sometimes I'll think, okay, I need more. And what I need is Atlas of the Heart, or what I need is Flow to Lay Low, or what I need is Elemental. And it's so great to know that series is available. And I can just go and yes, I can keep my Tuesday, Thursday practice, but on the other days, I can do these other practices and fill my heart and fill my soul with what I need at that moment.
Oh, I'd love to hear that. I mean, we started out with just Tuesday, Thursday yoga, but it's built into something that, you know, I think we should all be quite proud of. Over 400 classes in there, and they have a way. One of the things that, you know, I think about when I'm thinking about our membership versus, you know, people can get apps. People can just go on YouTube and find somebody. And, you know, I'm the only teacher in OYM.
Yep.
So I'm wondering, as a student, why not just get an app or go to YouTube? Why stick with me as the, you know, one teacher? Doesn't that get boring? Heard it.
No, because of what we were talking about before, which is you do change it up. You know, I don't come in and, you know, we don't do the same series and the same pose and the same music and the same sequence ever. I mean, right? I mean,
yeah, I suppose.
I'm saying that as a good thing. But that consistency is important for me. And there's a cadence to the way you teach. I know you said you don't have the ability to do, you know, hands-on instruction, but you are so attuned and so intuitive that I'm still learning and refining my practice. And when I've done online classes, I don't get that. I also find some of the cueing isn't very helpful in some of the YouTube classes and so forth. You know, you get, okay, twist. Well, which way? And where's my left leg supposed to be? You know, and I feel like, you know, you're very methodical. Okay, bring your left knee in. Okay, twist towards your left knee. And it's just really helpful for me to have that. And then the other piece is the community. You know, I haven't seen a lot of the people that we practice with much, considering we've been practicing together for 5, 6, 8 years now. Yet I feel such a connection with those people. And so when you do the in-person events and we get to see each other, it's just
I know, yeah.
It's joyful.
Yeah, there are opportunities to come together, either here in Austin. A lot of students are Austin based simply because that's where I'm from, and we transition, but we do have students now on both coasts, sometimes coming in from South America, a little bit overseas and other places. So that's why I also like having the international retreats and other things, because that's a chance to come together. So the sense of community is so important to me. Even if you can't touch them, you know that you're breathing together.
Yes.
And then hopefully you can get to see each other. But, yeah.
You know, and you mentioned the international thing. As you well know, I've done our practice, our regular Tuesday, Thursday class from all over the world, right? And again, it's that touch point. So even if I'm in Europe and I'm doing it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and it's 9 o'clock here, I'm still a part of that community. Even if I'm in the Caribbean somewhere, I'm joining the class, you know, and it's just, I love that community and that consistency.
Yeah, you don't have to find a place where you are.
So you kind of fortuitously went online pre-COVID, or right as COVID was hitting, which turned out to be a tremendous move. I'd be curious to hear about the evolution of your online practice and your online teaching over the years.
Well, the origin story cracks me up, and that is, so I tend to do things and then I'll wonder, why am I doing this? And so it was 2019 and I decided we had just moved to this house looking for a space that I could have a yoga studio, because as a yoga therapist, I see people one-on-one right in here. And so we needed a space. So then I thought, well, what else can I do in here? And I started doing Facebook Lives. There were like 30-minute things. Nobody was coming. And I'm just going, why am I doing this? Well, what happened was I was learning all the pieces of equipment that I would need. I was having to fix this room up to be a studio that could be online. And then boom, when COVID hit, I was able to switch.
Right.
And that's that to me that's the spiritual component of OIM. Is it was given to us. It was like birthed because it was a necessity. Yeah, we all came together. It first started just as Facebook Live groups, and then it's evolved over time.
Yeah.
And my teaching evolved. It has helped me become very intentional. Very intentional about the journey I want them to take, because when you're teaching in a studio, you don't know who you're going to get every day. But when there's a membership and it's a closed container, this is the first time I had a chance we're going on a journey. That was so exciting. I knew that I wasn't going to start from scratch with a brand newbie every single time I taught. And that is fine. I love my newbies and I love teaching public classes. But this is different. This is something where, okay, we've got this bowl of people and we are going to explore Pema Chodron's work. And we're going to come different on the other side. We're going to explore Brene Brown's work and come out different. We're going to explore, who else have we done? Sally Kempton, all these different books. And there's a lot of Mark Nepo. Like on a day where I don't have a plan, Mark Nepo will get us there. But we've done the sutras and the kleshas. So it's important to me that my students don't just know how to do triangle, but they know why they're doing the triangle and what are we really rooted in? We're rooted in ancient technology. Well, the technology itself, the human body is ancient for sure, but the sutras, the yoga sutras, and we're working with the mind and we're working with the breath, because it's the yoga off the mat that is the fruits. So I care much less now as a more experienced teacher than I did earlier. Is everybody getting this right?
Right.
Is everybody in their body and breath in the way that makes them fully present to what is?
Yes. And what I want to make sure people understand also is in all of that, in that beautiful container, you meet people where they are. So there are newbies, right? And I remember my first class with you. I remember sitting in that room, and I remember being in the middle of the room and the sun streaming down. I remember that. I didn't know the first thing about yoga when I went to that class. I didn't, even you say triangle pose in the sutras, I was like, oh, okay, whatever. But I trusted, and you made it very accessible. And so, I feel like part of the yoga journey, from my perspective, is you're always learning, and you're always, right? I mean, even if you've been doing it for 2 weeks or 2 years or 20 years, it's always new. And you've got this container of OIM, which is such a special container that, there's room for all, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's room for people with a very long history of practice, and people who've never practiced, and people who've come from different disciplines into this practice. I mean, you just make it so accessible. It's really beautiful.
That's music to my ears. Thank you for saying that. And I am remembering a few newbies who have come in during the course of it, and some just do the recordings and they'll check in with me. But some come to class and they say one day they'll be brave enough to turn on their camera.
I never turn.
I know you don't have to turn on your camera, but that's the goal of this person, to one day turn it on.
Nobody needs to see me doing yoga that close.
Nobody's watching. Nobody's watching. Like, you look like, tiny little boxes.
Yeah. Well.
And there's some teachers who have figured out how to do all of that. And I've played with it. And what I realize is that's just not what we're doing. We're going together.
Right.
We're going together.
Right. And honestly, for me, it's interesting when I have gone to in-person classes, because I'm now so used to practicing online. It's almost a distraction to me, because when we practice online, I am able to go so deeply within and really be in my practice, which I love, that when I go to in-person classes, I have to kind of reorient myself to the room and other people, and just the distractions, and simply wobbly in front of me, and
that's interesting. Yeah.
So I like online because I can really go in and go.
So some people mention being at home, they are not. It's harder because they're distracted by laundry or cats, and cats come to the mat. Cats are invited
to the mat.
That they're there in their space and their whole home life is going on around them. How do you mark your time as sacred? How do you step out of your life that's surrounding you at your home and into your practice?
Well, a few things come to mind, and my cat does come to yoga, as you know. I block off the 30 minutes before and the 30 minutes after. What's lovely is that used to be commute time, which meant, oh my God, get in the car, go, blah, blah, blah. Now it's kind of get quiet and get ready time, or come out of yoga time, which is lovely. So that's one way that I block. I do my practice in the same space every time, which is helpful. And that's honest, it's how the cat knows, once my yoga mat comes out, it's like, okay, now yoga begins. Yeah, I mean, and just mechanically, it is blocked off on my calendar from now to infinity, and it's in bright orange on my calendar, which is my color for health.
That's health color. Oh, that's so good. You've really organized it, and as an important thing, and that's what is completely necessary. If for some reason it's easier, why would it be easier to say, okay, I'm going to drive to the studio every Tuesday at 5 p.m. to take a yoga class, but I can't set just like 5 p.m. on my mat. So there's discipline involved.
Yes. And for me, that pocket of time before and after is tremendously helpful. I mean, now, my kids know not to call me in that window. That's the other thing, is I leave my phone outside, which is very helpful.
Well, see, I'd love to hear this from you, because you are an exceedingly busy woman. Yes, you are. You're launching kids into the world. You run two businesses of your own, and a marriage, and friends, and pets, and a turtle. So for anyone who says I don't have time,
oh my
what do you say? Say it.
Really?
What is it?
We might have to edit this part.
Yeah, what does it say? Like, what? Reiterate the saying. Like, if you, like, people say, I don't have time to do.
If you don't have an hour for yoga, do two.
Yeah, I don't have an hour for yoga. Well, then you need to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So a couple things. Kind of begin with the end in mind. Right. I am a better wife, mother, spouse, friend, employee, employer, leader. I mean, all of the above when I do my practice. And I know when I don't do my practice that I'm not centered. So that's the big payoff for me, is knowing I need this in my life. I mean, in my work, it's so important that I'm grounded and present and centered, and yoga is just essential for that for me. My family's like, don't you need to take a yoga class? When was the last time you did a yoga class?
Prescription, Mom.
Yeah. I mean, so for me, it's as much about the, oh my gosh, mental, spiritual, holistic community connection. Oh yeah, physical piece of it. So how do I make it a priority? I remind myself what happens when I don't do it.
Oh, so we got a little carrot and stick going on. Yeah.
Probably so.
No, I get that.
And then again, the no travel time. I mean, within, so we do class, I block off the 30 minutes after, and at the top of the hour, I am dressed and ready to see clients again, which is, the whole virtual world is fantastic. So yeah, I mean, it's the time aspect of it is tremendous.
Let's talk about what Back to the Mat is. Back to the Mat is 1 week where I open up the whole library to for people to come and do yoga. And it's for a full week. I used to call it virtual open house. That's what it started as. And then I just liked the sound of Back to the Mat, so we changed it. And it's a full week of getting to tap into the library. And what I do is I curate the library, because it would be overwhelming. Like anybody who just starts at any time, I'm going to create a way for them to have a sampler to get started. So each day will have a theme and everyone will be tuning in. Everybody who's in OYM goes on and makes comments like, oh, this was great. This was this. So you're seeing everybody else, their involvement.
Mhm,
So you're
mhm.
recognizing the community component. For those who are just sampling it, they'll have an opportunity to try. I've got 20-minute practices, 30-minute practices, 45-minute hour. So if time is the issue, you can do with that. There's also a search where you can, if you're saying, I need like a heart opener, then you can type it in the search and you're going to get a huge list. Or there's a whole series called Into the Heart, because, you know, chakras are my jam. So I've got a series where we look at chakra 1 through the lens of the heart. Like, how do you love where you live? Or loving your emotions, or loving the power that you have inside. So it's like, kind of like what we're doing with this, with the podcast too, is we're going through each of those things. So my goal is to just show you a good potpourri of experience that you can have. You can do it every day. You can do it some days. And then hopefully at the end, you know, of course, I'm going to want you to join, because we want the souls in the bowl with us.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Souls in the bowl.
Souls in the bowl.
Beautiful.
And any of them in the Austin area can come to Monday morning community yoga in person for free.
Oh, nice.
So it's a donation-based thing that I do at the community center here in my neighborhood. And OIM, I'm like, once you're an OIM and you're paying monthly, I don't want you to keep buying more yoga, right? You get all the yoga. So if I do a series outside, like let's say I do a 6-week series that I open to everyone, it's going to go in OIM. So they get everything. So you can just be rest assured, whatever's coming, you get to be part of it. Events and things, that would be more, but you still get a little break in price.
So what do you see from your perspective of some of the benefits of a consistent practice?
Oh my gosh, so many. The one that always jumps to my mind first, your relationships will improve 100%, because you are shifting gears. Now, I wouldn't say that a blanket statement of would I? Anytime you're getting more and more in touch with your breath and your body and you're pausing, things will improve because you are present. And that, you know, I think mindfulness is a pretty well-known commodity now. It's everywhere. No? Am I wrong?
Well,
Is it just my
no,
word?
but maybe not well practiced.
Oh, it's known about, but not done.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, you'll be doing
You're
it.
in a different circle.
Yeah. So everybody knows they should be mindful.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I see.
People know it's a thing. They know they should be doing it.
And well, this is what happens when you actually are mindful.
Right.
So it improves focus, circulation, health. People, their bodies change in a way that makes them feel strong.
Yes.
And people usually start because they want to be stronger and more flexible. Well, that happens to your body. It happens to your mind. It happens to your will. It happens to your emotions. You have a greater capacity to handle life's struggles. You just do, because you have stood in triangle for a long time. You didn't want to.
Yes.
So your window of, there's a word for that. What is that? Your window of tolerance.
Oh yeah.
Tolerance.
Yeah.
Your window of tolerance gets bigger. You know, so things that used to bother you, after 6 months of consistent yoga, you're going to go, you know what, that used to bug me, and I'm kind of okay now. Well,
and just the tools that we use in yoga, and I don't know if tools is the right word.
Tools, techniques,
tools, techniques. But I'm thinking, you know, when I've been in high stakes situations at work, and I'm like, okay, just breathe, you know, and I find my breath's up here, I'm like, okay, deep belly breathing. When I can't go to sleep at night, you know, I practice my square breathing, right? I mean, so some of the things, you know, it as you say, it's yes, what happens on the mat, but yoga is what happens off the mat. And that's where the real value is. And I will 1,000% agree with you on relationships. Lovely to be having this conversation about all the benefits of a virtual practice or practice at home. Let's get really, really practical. For someone who hasn't started their practice at home, what do you think are the top 3 things that would make for a really effective home?
Let's see. Let's first dislodge the idea that you don't have time.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you move that to the side, then I think it's fun to create a space.
Mm-hmm.
Like prepare the way.
Yeah.
I heard a wise woman once say, you move the material, the spirit will follow.
Beautiful.
Right. So prepare, do some nesting.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be set out all the time, but even if you have, like one little candle or a votive or something that means something to you, almost like a little place of an altar, then there is a sacred space. And that might be in your bedroom, might be in a hallway. There's one that tunes in from her bathroom, but it becomes her space. So, and Iyengar talks about this in Light on Yoga. How do you create a space? So first decide that you have time.
Yep.
Then make space for it. So if you have clutter, declutter.
Yes.
If you have blankets and pillows that you want to use in your practice, have them available.
Yes.
Have your mat right there. Make it enticing.
Yes.
You can even have a certain scent. Yoga is so sensual. So putting on an oil before you practice will prepare you. It's just really getting into this habit of like, there is a time for me to connect to my practice. So realize you have time, make this space, and then get on that mat. So
and get your props ready.
Have your props ready.
Yeah.
And just be on the mat. So if there might be a day where you're like, I know I would like to do yoga today, I don't have the time or the energy, then just go set a timer and sit on your mat for 5 minutes. See what happens.
That reminds me too, another benefit of online yoga. There was something we did in class this week. And I just thought, I can't do that today. So I didn't. I just went into bridge pose instead. Which in a class, I would be extremely self-conscious about doing, right? Because I'd be like, oh my gosh, everybody else is doing it. I should be doing this. But it wasn't right for my body at that point in time. So at my home, in the privacy of my own mat, I just said, okay, I'm going to do a bridge pose. Yeah. And, I stayed with you through that sequence. And when we finished, I did a second bridge while you did the other side, and then jumped right back up and joined the rest of the practice. But I would have never done that. Well, maybe I would.
By now you might, yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'd like to acknowledge about what you're saying for you is that you had the awareness first to know, like, this is not what I need right now. Right. In the beginning, we don't know.
Right.
In the beginning, we don't know. Then you learn this, not that, you become discerning. Right. And then you also have put in enough time to know you can do something else. People should always know you can do something else. Everybody has that thing that makes them feel good. Whether it's like lying on your side or on your belly, you can always come back to that. And when you're doing online yoga, that is one of the benefits, and it's a challenge, right? So it can be harder to make yourself do the whole pose or do the whole practice. Like you might just fall out of your balance and go get a cup of coffee real quick and come back, and that's an option.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of discipline of just showing up, doing your best, and then also meeting yourself right where you are. Both of those things.
Yeah. What do you do, or do you get any feedback? What if people say, I don't understand that pose, or I don't know the benefits of this pose? Or, do you get that kind of feedback from people? Because I would imagine
like during the practice,
or afterwards, in the Zoom room, do people talk to you about what they've experienced?
Yeah. Well, yeah, in the Zoom room, definitely. In the Zoom room's fun. We chat before, usually because we're all over the place. We're talking about the weather. And some people let it come and we say hi, and that's one. And then afterwards we'll stick around. And those who want to share. I mean, I'm gonna stay for the next 10 minutes and we'll just close together. And sometimes we just want to sit with silence. Sometimes people will have questions. And sometimes people do put things in the chat and say, I don't know, understand that. And I'll see it and then I can address it. So things happen in real time for sure.
Yeah.
And I trust that if somebody in the Zoom room had the question, somebody in the recording world did.
So after we finish this, I have a question that I keep meaning to ask you about eagle pose.
We can get into
back to that.
It's not easy.
I know it's not easy, but
this is so good. This is why you're a great student. Is there anything that you would like to share about your journey with OYM, or anything that we haven't touched on? Something that
Jess knows this, my business partner Lisa knows this. I tend to think and talk at the same time. But your question about why OYM versus a YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really interesting question. And part of it for me, because I have poked around and, people that I've heard about, and I just, I want to come back to this piece about community because it really does matter. And we are all over the country and all over the world in the OYM community. And yet there really is a sense of community over Zoom. And I just, community matters and we need community and we need other people and we are raising the consciousness of the planet by coming together on our mats wherever we are. And that's what you can't get when you're clicking on a YouTube channel.
You're really on your own.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't feel as good.
It just feels very sporadic
Mm-hmm.
and not very whole.
Yeah. Yeah. Yoga is union. We're meant to do it together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Body, mind, spirit, breath, humans, divine.
All together, which makes it beautiful. And I will just do not edit this part out. You are a beautiful guide. And it's because you bring body, mind, spirit, divine. You bring all of that into our practice. Plus a little bit of silliness and a little bit of fun and sometimes a dog walking by. I mean, all those things combined with the technical skill and expertise. I mean, I think about, when I first started and stuff I couldn't do that now I'm just like, oh yeah, sure, and it's because, it's under your tutelage that I have learned that and you have exposed me to all of us to that. And it's beautiful. And that's another benefit is just getting with a person who brings all of that in such an amazing and powerful and beautiful package to the mat so that we can be amazing and powerful is phenomenal. So thank you.
Thank you. That is what I want for the world.
Me too. So thanks for helping us all get there.
Thank you for having this conversation with me.
Bye.
Yeah. Namaste.